Hello, this is Noreen Crone-Findlay from Crone-Findlay.com and ToddyTalksCrafts.com. Spool knitting is one of my most favorite crafts. I just love it, and I've done a lot of designing for it. And I've figured out lots of neat ways of doing things, like designing this wonderful menopause fairy doll. She's spool knitted. Now, I needed to figure out some ways of doing innovative things with the spool knitter, so I could do things like make this very cool hat for her. So, of course, that's why I am teaching you this little tutorial today on 5-peg spool knitting on a 4-peg spool knitter, which sounds impossible, and it would be, but that's why you've got me. Now, to turn your 4-peg spool knitter into a 5-peg spool knitter, start by cutting out a little sticker. I used ones off of our address labels. Stick that on the front between the two front pegs. And there's a reason why you're going to do that. I'll tell you why later. And get some rubber bands and use them to wrap around, in this case, a steel crochet hook. I like them, the extra peg, to go up a little bit higher than the 4 pegs of the spool knitter. And that's a crochet hook. This one I did with just using the peg, the spool knitter lifter thinger that came with the spool knitter. And again, rubber bands holding her on. Now, why on earth would you want to do that? Well, like I said, you want to have more options. Well, for what? Well, here. So it just looks like I've got a fatter cord coming out of the spool knitter, right? Well, let me just do a little reveal here. Look at this. It's flat, which then allows me to do all kinds of neat things. So I'm going to show you how to use that 5th peg to make flat spool knitting. Here we go. You take your spool knitter and take your yarn across the top of the spool knitter, grab a crochet hook, take it up through the bottom of the spool knitter to the top to catch the yarn. Oh, that's my our greyhound saying hello to his dad, who's just about to come into the studio. Hi, darling. I'm just filming here. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I just explained that it was greyhound sounds. Okay, so hold on to that lower end. Now, start making E's around your pegs, including that 5th peg. And you just go around them all. Now, your first time around, you're not going to be lifting a lower over the upper on your last one. And you've got this butterfly here to stop you from forgetting yourself and spool knitting all around. You can spool knit all around, but to do the flat one, don't. You're going to go back and forth, around, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so you get your loop lifter. Now, you're skipping your first peg for the first time around. So reach in, lift that first E wrap over the passed yarn. And of course, you always give that gentle little tug. Now, you're going to find at first this side isn't going to want to go down the center channel. It will eventually, don't worry about it. Now, this one, you're going to have to lift carefully. It might want to pop off. And if it does, you just coax it with your nail to behave itself. There we go. I got that one over. And it gets easier. The first round is always slow and cumbersome and always looks really clunky, and it just does move along so much better. The more rows you have, the better it moves. And there we go. Now we've got our first row done. Don't go across to this peg. Now you're going to take it back around in the other direction, and you're just going to go back. And of course, your lower loop always goes over that passed yarn. I'm going to tug down a bit and go past your. Let's push that down. I think I've got it a bit high. There we go. Over it goes. like I said, the first few rows kind of clunky, kind of slow and a little rough looking. There, now this time we do go past that first peg and lift over and tug down. You might want to take the end of your spool knitter lifter and push on that stitch. Now back you go in the other direction. Remember, you don't work across those two pegs. And back and forth you go, turning at the end, and don't, there we go. See, even by the third row, it's going so much better. So there you go. That's how you work a flat band on your spool knitter, by giving yourself that extra peg. It works out to a really, really nice flat band. So happy spool knitting, and come back to my YouTube channel, of course, for more cool tutorials. See, you'll see that there is a space. It gets a little harder to see it. You can see that this one, it could be very easy to just keep going in a circle. That's why I've got the sticker there saying don't go in a circle. See, this one is, it gets much faster when you're working on, when you've got several rows there already. So there we go. And that's how you get such a nice flat band. Oh, and this yarn is variegated yarn, and that's why it gives you the pre-patterned, the yarn patterns itself in stripes. Very neat. Okay, so that's me, Noreen Crone-Findlay at cronefindlay.com and toddytalkscrafts.com. And, oh, for the pattern for the spool knitted menopause fairy is at cronefindlay.com on my spool knitter page. Talk to you soon. See you for some more wonderful tutorials. Bye for now.